Hello, folks. Thank you for joining in today. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for tuning in. Today, I'll be discussing a little thing about dating and dating apps and some things that need to be brought to the table. I'll begin to say, number one, as a form of disclaimer, number one, I stand far from the incel community for both sexes, saying that to a degree I can comprehend where they're coming from, but that's coming from an outsider. Number two, I am fully aware as an outsider where I stand in terms of genetic predisposition, yet try to put myself to excel in all areas complementary to that self. So that's things like charisma, intelligence, and all kinds of manners and morals. Number three, there does exist a common denominator among the sexes when it comes to dating, and speaking from experience, observation, and facts. Please feel free to all have an open dialogue in the comments below with critical thinking, and above all, respecting freedom of speech. So we're going to begin with IQ. And that's the first area that we're going to talk about. And on the terms of IQ, number one, and IQ scores are declining by an average of 7 points per generation since 1970. And we're also then gaining 3 points per decade, but it seems that it's on a steady decline. Number two, when looking at the dating world, it shows that humanity promotes more of a simple, in a toxic way, of personalities. In essence, dumb becomes the new cool. I'm asking you now, would you invest in a partner that holds a low IQ than yours? Procreate and then have that low IQ installed into the children. This can also affect you as a person, as you would have to bring down your IQ to fit the other person's personality, and thus you could say that's a form of definitely self-murder. Number three, some researchers have noted that the IQ scores are dropping in the same populations where sperm counts are also decreasing, probably because of chemicals that leeches from plastics, disrupt the endocrine systems, poor diets, obesity, too much time spending sitting down, too much time not using your brain, listening to social media, and the media itself. You can also look up a book on this. It's called John Taylor Gatto. In his book, Dumbing Us Down, he points out that in the educational system, it has changed very little since the basically Industrial Revolution. Those times they were just educating people or informing people on, ideas and, let's say, basic knowledge to a degree of how to work with mechanical machinery. But taking a closer look at this is basically we're moving closer in combining the robot itself with the organic human together to perform the best preferred controlled specimen. Now I'm going to talk about the bios. Bios, either from Tinder to Field, show that stupidity is the way forward, comes as the way forward through the user face layout. Now, in Field, in contrast with Tinder, in Field it has more of a mature setting, meaning that you can have up to 1,500 characters to describe yourself in the bio. Yet what happens when people write these bios leads purely forward to that stupidity is cool in seeking a partner. 2. The amount of superficial bios out there with words that come across extremely genetic to begin with, also very, very high. Very, very high. within the population. Yes, there's an element of mystery and making yourself interesting by throwing a one-liner with a bit of mystery. I get it, but when everybody else does it, it defeats the purpose of standing out as an individual. I'm not looking to date Nike, McDonald's, Safeway, Tesco, Walmart, any major corporation that just throws a one-liner as a slogan. I get it. Like I said, the slogans and one-liners are cool. But really, guys, when everybody's doing it and everybody's saying the same bullshit, for example, another Kiwi in London, another Aussie in London, here for a short time, but not a very long time. I don't know, man. I don't know. It sounds pretty crappy to me because at the end of the day, all of these bios, what they try to get into, and also in a very non-offensive way, and the result, what result do you get in at hand? NPC bios. What can I say? It speaks for itself. Number 3, very little of the population in the dating apps from all ages, okay, from all ages, will put a decent effort in making the bio look human with an organic fire of passion and living. And I've seen this from the 18-year-olds that have put a decent amount in their bios to people in their 40s plus. But again, that's a very, very slim population of people out there using their brain. So it's not a generational thing. It's dead down to an individual thing. Number 4, the majority get hanged up on political and heights, reducing the human partner to only 2 dimension. That means the most, which I don't really get it. Saying that if you have a political kink or fetishes, then please make that clear in your bio. Do not just put it out there, because then everybody unfortunately puts it and you sound like the same, even though maybe you're not trying to come across as an NPC. Well, let me tell you something. By doing so, you do come across as an NPC. Also, the same thing for the height, but also take into consideration that when people of different heights reproduce, there's a chance that the tall height will skip your child. 1. On that note, when this happens, you're conditioning the height means something, and when that child reaches let's say puberty, for example, and these genetics preferences do not hit the child successfully, good job. You're giving the child a complex. The same goes for the example when people have 2 children, one gets the genes and the other one doesn't. Now you've just basically created a form of favoritism and nepotism, alongside with that a major complex towards the child. And this is where we get into body dysmorphia. Now, on that note, I would like to say very openly that most people should not have children. Yes, I've said it, most people should not have children. Just for the simple reason that they're not mature enough to have children, not mature within themselves, and doing the steps that they need to do as a real individual, meaning asking themselves their real questions, doing shadow work. And I don't want to throw some of these words out there because everybody uses them, and most people miss the point. But let's put it this way. Becoming a parent, it takes a certain type of person. Let's put it that way. Now, I'm going to move on to the types of bios. Okay, now, the first one that we're going to begin with is the blank ones. Now, these ones might show a verification badge. They might show some form that they have bought the app. And you have some that don't. At the end of the day, this comes out as a red flag for the reasons that these profiles show a side of psychic vampirism approach, laziness, and downright lack of living. Simple. It's a red flag. Don't waste your time. Leave them. Skip them. Number 2, the political bio ones with the acronyms that get linked to political values, that the person basically shows that a person is a snowflake, meaning they have zero critical thinking, and it's a full-on disrespect to freedom of speech. Another red flag. Yes, you're supposed to have some commonalities with the person that you're looking for. Don't get me wrong. That makes sense. But at the same time, you do have to have some form of differences, and you need to have within a relationship a sense of growth. Now, if you have a political kink, like I mentioned earlier, okay, cool, that's fine. But then when everybody's doing these things in their bios, putting these acronyms, putting such a high value on something politically, for whatever cause, I just don't get it, to be honest. I really, it blows my mind. Well, hey, if it's your kink, if it's your thing, make it clear. Hey, she said, look, I'm a left winger. I want to stay on what I've got a political kink. I like to dress up as Hillary, and I like to role play, and my husband be Bill Clinton. I don't know. I get it. Or the other way around, where um, I'm left, but I'm looking to bang a right. Anyways, a lot of people grew up in households with parents are differently in politics, so I don't get it. I thought that would be good for diversity. I don't know. That's one thing some people should think of. On the high bios now. Now these ones will post their own height, seeking with others with similar or taller heights, which I get it. Okay, that's cool. Again, if you have a kink for it, good for you. I don't discriminate in height. Yet also have a delusional sense of security, meaning that these folks tend to think that the bigger the person, the better the security. Now, I'm going to speak towards the women here. If you know nothing about fighting and never looked into it, then please revalue yourselves. Because then I would have to ask you, what do you know about physical fighting, about fighting psychologically, and about fighting spiritually? And you should pick up the skill for yourself. You should learn how to defend. Simple. It's a God-given right. You have a body. You have a wonderful existence of willpower. But let me tell you something. You got to rely on yourself to defend yourself. You can't rely on others. Plus, it's a needed skill. The same way you need to learn how to cook to defend yourself. This goes for both sexes. You should learn how to fight. Where was we? And now I have to also ask this question. So what's the use for a man, in this instance, I'm speaking to the ladies, to invest in children okay, let me start over. What's the use for a man to invest in children with a woman whom is unable to defend herself, right? And defend the children from physical, psychological, and spiritual attacks while the male is away? What good is there? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Nothing. The answer is nothing. At the end of the day, folks, that's another red flag. You need to ask yourself this question, ladies. Where are the Valkyries, the Baudicas, the Zenobias, the Xenas, the real Amazonian Wonder Woman, the Zengshi Saos, the Rani Lakshmi Bai, the Rani Abakata, Chauta, Ninzagas, and the Susas Mabandes, Lozones, the Graine O'Maileys, the Mai Bango, and the Gudits. I just mentioned a whole bunch of women throughout history from all parts of the world that have a sense of authority and sovereignty upon themselves as defending themselves and defending their people from physical, spiritual, and psychological warfare. Where are the women today to do that? I don't get it. You can, transpose a nation into a family. I don't know. It makes me wonder where these women are at. Number 4, here we're going to go. We're going to go here now with the Leechers. These ones, for the most part, will have an account without paying for the version. You get those, right? And you also have then the other ones that will pay for the account, and they will have a sense, like a little verification symbol somewhere. But in both instances, what they want you to do to pay for a feature on the app to get their attention. Now, that comes down to a complete red flag. It's a two-way street here, honey. Listen, if I pay for a feature to get your attention in the app, let's say I can feel like a ping and we do match, then by default you owe me a drink. I'm not a financial simp. I'm not looking for a fandom. Those people, you can take that somewhere else. I respect it. But for the majority of us, take it somewhere else and make it explicit in your bio. This will also lead to a sense of hypergamy. Okay? Yes, we all judge with our eyes, and we do go for the things that we like, and that's fine. And for those of you that are saying, oh, you shouldn't judge, this and that, don't judge, do me a favor, sunshine. Cross the road without judging. Don't look left and right. Just cross blindly. Tell me what you think. Tell me what happens. I would love to hear it, honestly. I mean, I had a near-death experience. I've done the same, so maybe we can exchange. If you make it alive, I learned my lesson. I don't know about you. Maybe it's time for you to learn your lesson. But at the same time, these women that go for the hypergamy, they're the same ones that would tell somebody my level and other men in similar level or even lower, they'll say to you, it's what's on the inside that counts rather than on the outside. Bullshit, ladies. Bullshit. And bullshit to the men too. Hey, not forgetting you guys. Because these are the same people, folks, that would never ever date, for the most part. These are the people that will never date a disabled person, from blindness to a wheelchair or to fully paralyzation. And again, you will give a complex to the child in the future. So it's a red flag and good for you. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Number 5. The use of words in an inappropriate sense. For example, the word EQ. This is one word that gets thrown around a lot, folks. EQ. I rarely don't see it too much in the men's bio. It's more on the females, but ladies, if you understand what EQ means, and it means the ability to understand and use and manage your own emotions in a positive way to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcoming challenges, and diffuse conflict, do me a favor, learn to fight. Because when you go to a gym and you learn to fight, all of these skills come in. They all fall in shape. They all fall into a form of character building. And when you know yourself and you know your body, you know that you're able to defend yourself, then you're able to diffuse, you're able to communicate better, you have better ways of stress management. But at the same time, the reason why I'm also saying this, because women, you're also emotional. So it's not like men don't have the EQ setting flicked on and women by default have it flicked off. No. This is a two-way street for both sexes. But please, learn to fight, guys. Like, really learn to defend yourself. I can stress it a lot more. I mean, even if you just do it at home, you do it with a personal trainer, trust me, you get a whole load of it. I mean, you have a high percentage of people out there in the population, for example, that know to drive, but they don't even know how to defend themselves. Well, if driving exists as a necessity to live, then you should put a part defending yourself, and you should instill that within your children also. And like I said, these ones are also a red flag. Number 6 now. The myth of 6. No, we're not really talking about the mark of the beast, but these people do promote themselves in somewhat of a beast, of a foul nature, of a toxic one. So the myth of 6 is basically entails that a woman is seeking a man that's 6 feet tall, 6 abs, and 6 figures. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You found it. His name is Patrick Batesman. He fits perfectly this category, 110%. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. American Psycho. Yeah, Christian Bale's a good-looking chap, but in there, I don't know, would you date a psycho looking like that? Hey, each to their own. Do you know what I mean? Each to their own. If you want to go down that route, go ahead. I ain't stopping you. It also links to the point that I made, number 4, by the hypergamy. Listen, aim high, aim for your ideals, and aim for the ideal person, right? But please have a realistic sense of reality and use the prefrontal cortex of your brain. And if you have to use other areas, go ahead, do so. Because yes, men can fall in the same way for this illusion and disillusion, which I have seen, for example, with the it girl, like Pamela Anderson, Kate Moss, Paris Hilton. And between guys, to tell you the truth, I don't see it or hear it that much as before. But with women, I'm sure it is. I mean, between women's circle, I'm sure that's off the roof, to be honest. It's off the roof. And again, if you have a preference, go ahead, stick to your preference, but, be also realistic. That if you're aiming for these men that exist in this little bandwidth, and there's 50 of them, and there's 100 women outside of that bandwidth wanting these men, yeah, you're going to have half of them that will get the men and the other half that won't. Some of them will have open relationships, so the ones that they didn't get hooked in, they can come in and have some form of relationship as a open relationship with these people. But at the end of the day, you're also what are you doing? I don't get it. I just don't understand what you're doing. It makes no sense strategically to achieve a goal. Okay, so we also move into we can now briefly on the same topic talk about the traditional beauty. To be conventionally attractive means to fall with common beauty standards, or to have features that society as a whole deems desirable. Again, what happened to the beauty exists in the eye of the beholder. This leads down to another red flag. And this ultimately also leads to the person with both from both sexes of using logical fallacies. So you'll be appealing to tradition, you're doing the whole bandwagon, appeal to authority, appeal to popularity. Again, red flag. And lastly, I would like to say about the caveats. And before I move on to the caveats, I would like to say to just take a moment to say this, that you got to look at it this way. When you go out in the dating world, you're giving out your resume, your CV towards that person, right? And if that person reads your CV and there's not a whole lot going there, you have to ask yourself, well, in the real world, if I were to have, when I go have a job and I give them my CV, if I give them a shitty CV or a blank CV compared to somebody that puts the effort in entailing who they, where they come from, what they do, what their strengths, blah, 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 I'm sure you would consider more the person that put an effort in their CV than the other person. So it goes the same here, folks. I would also like to point out before I finish the video that every type of relationship exists as a form of business, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendship, whether it's actual business, or all three of the above. And at the end of the day, there's a common denominator and an exchange of currency within these relationships, and that comes down to respect. Now, if you do not have that value and that currency for yourself and for others, you ain't gonna get nowhere in life. Okay? So it does help to attach a certain lens, a realistic lens, to say the least, but also not devoid from humanity, like close to the heart, close to the passion, close to the essence of being alive, but being realistic. You should have your heads up in the cloud, but your feet firmly in the floor. And from both sexes, when it comes to the dating world, their heads are way over the cloud. You know what I mean? Like, hey guys, like I said, aim high, aim for the sky, and space is a place to be, but you still got to get yourself grounded down here, folks. You really do. Else we're just gonna lose your way. Honestly. I would like to talk about the caveats that I'm also aware of. There's 2 caveats. The first one is basically the bots and the scammers and the fake profilers. Now, these people will promote their Instagram for Instagram, or they will promote Instagram for their OnlyFans. Wrong platform, darling. Both of you. And the third one that will do this are the ones that will use the platform to promote themselves as sex workers. Again, wrong platform. GTFO. And this goes to show you there's a lack of critical thinking. It's disrespectful for those that are looking, to have a meaningful connection with somebody and have a space where it hosts these types of people rather than the 3 I just described. You guys need to look for another place. It also affects to also, no, all of these affect also adding to the dumbing down of communication. And the bios like these also discourage the user from seeing through these issues, but also also these types of users, please do complain to the app, and hopefully they can resolve the issue. There's a solution that exists, but that's for another topic. And the second caveat, acting silly for a sense of comedy, of lightheartedness, can agree onto this, folks, but to make stupid look cool helps for nothing. Saying that, I do admire the stunt acts of Jackass and, for example, Dirty Sanchez. There's something primal about this form of risk-taking, but also play fighting, which I do get. So it's not like I'm devoid of comedy or stupidness or these extremes and everything in between. I'm just saying there's a time and place for them at the end of the day. And in conclusion, I would like to leave you guys with this, that these types of bios lead to one thing. They're like a Ferrari. They're beautiful on the outside, but there's not a single piece of engine in the hood. So there's nothing under it. And what's the use of having a Ferrari without an engine, folks? You tell me. And for those of you that are going through a bit of a time right now, hey, I'm with you. Trust me, I've had very little success rate in the dating app, at least on the virtual world. Real life world, different issues. Some of them are similar, but there's different ones. And I would like to let you guys know that in our darkest moments, we must focus upon to see the light. And with that, I will leave you with one more quote. This one from Watchmen, coming from Rorschach: to never ever compromise, even under the face of Armageddon. So, folks, I'll leave you to it. Enjoy you wherever you are. Put links on the bio for things like the psychic vampirisms, and anything in there that I can think of that would go as complimentary to this video. Stay strong, folks. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Peace.